Vice Chair Gaines,
Here.
Member Vasquez,
Present.
Member Schaefer,
Here.
Deputy Controller Emron.
Present.
Thank you, members. Quorum is present, and the board meeting is called to order. We will begin with Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand, and Mr. Vasquez, if you would please lead us in the pledge.
Ready, begin. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll go now to member opening remarks, if there are any. Vice Chair.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to recognize our 250th birthday as a democratic republic, the greatest country, in my opinion, that's ever existed on earth. And just grateful for the fact that we have the freedoms that we do, and that we will continue to secure those freedoms for generations to come. And I'm paraphrasing, but as Ronald Reagan said, we're only a generation away from losing our democratic republic. So I think it's very important that we make sure that we teach our children and our grandchildren the uniqueness of America, which I think was clarified with the World Cup and the comments that you saw from millions of visitors, and a different view of what America is, not one that is showing a particular view through the media, but what is America really like? And so they had that opportunity to experience that, and I just hope that we will continue to foster this democratic republic and that we teach that to our children and grandchildren and within our schools. And so very disturbed at some of the things that have been happening in our schools where children are being often taught to hate America. And yet it is the shining light upon a hill. It's not perfect. We've had struggles and challenges in the past, but we need to also remember that we learn from those struggles and we become better for it. So just want to emphasize that because that's been such a great opportunity to reflect. And I just read a book by Jonathan Turley called Rage in the Republic, which was very interesting because it compares the revolutions, the American Revolution versus the French Revolution, and how brutal the French Revolution was and how it was divided into factions, and then the factions killed off each other. And very kind of dark perspective of what can happen in a revolutionary time versus what I think, when you compare it to America and what we went through, it was a very different challenge. And Thomas Paine, who wrote Common Sense, was, considered the radical in America during the Revolution, and he was considered the moderate in France during their revolution and was engaged in that and actually imprisoned because he wasn't radical enough. And so, so I just wanted to highlight that, and thank you for the opportunity indulging me.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to just bring out a couple items here. First, to recognize National Park and Recreation Month, a time to focus on building strong and vibrant and resilient communities through the power of parks and recreation. This month is dedicated to recognizing and celebrating the full-time park and recreational professionals, part-time and seasonal workers, and volunteers who manage and maintain our country's local, state, and community parks. July is also National Make a Difference to Children's Month, which emphasizes the critical role of guidance and membership in a child's development. This month raises awareness about the vulnerabilities children face and the profound impact adult figures can have. It reminds us that from mentoring or volunteering to donating to a child welfare organizations, each one of us can make a positive difference in a child's life year-round. Next, I just wanted to also mention and announce that the California Latino Legislative Caucus Foundation recently celebrated its 12th year of its scholarship program, which the announcement that 60 students from across California have been chosen to receive the foundation's 2026 scholarships, each worth $5,000 for a combined total of $300,000 in scholarship awards. This year, I had the pleasure of recommending 2 young women from Los Angeles area for the scholarship, and each of them was honored with a scholarship award. First one was Rosa Bautista Flores, who will be attending the University of California, Santa Barbara this fall. The second one is Rosemary Calvac Lopez, who will be attending California State University, Los Angeles. Just wanted to congratulate both of them and wish them great success in their college journey and beyond. And last but not least, for those of you that were watching FIFA, I just wanted to shout out to Spain, who was able to take down Argentina, the winner of the FIFA World Cup, for an exceptional skill and teamwork. And I believe Spain in that whole tournament had no goalies scored against them, which was kind of a unique and first that I remember happening. But Messi, who I know will be known or is one of the Hall of Famers moving forward. I mean, that guy was just incredible. But, you know, youth eventually takes over, so thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schaefer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want especially today commemorate our 250th. You know, if we'd lost that revolution, we'd all be speaking English with an accent. And the only other birthday I'm going to recognize today is Prince George, who is a son of Kate Middleton and Prince William. Prince George, who was 13 today, and he is second in line to the throne next to his dad. So, you know, he's a pretty important person to the future of our relationships. I also want to do a little shout out for Orange County, which is a very important part of our district. They have some of the biggest 4th of July celebrations in the nation, and they're really under-recognized. Huntington Beach has the largest celebration, I'm told, west of Mississippi. Dana Point has a squadron of airplanes flying over it, flying over Doheny State Beach. Newport Beach has a big annual parade of ships, and then on the island they have bike, scooters, and skateboard competition, and dogs are welcome. Walt Disney's Disney World or whatnot has a concert in the sky with fireworks and patriotic music. Knott's Berry Farm has a big fireworks display, and Legoland has a fireworks display. And Orange County really gets into it every year, and I just want us to take note of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Emron.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning to you and Mr. Vice Chair and my colleagues here on the Board of Equalization, members of the public, and the Executive Director. What an honor it is to be here on behalf of our great State Controller, Malia Cohen. We're in the midst of summer, and it's certainly my favorite time of year. And last year, it's always a trend historically, when it's summer, when it's hotter, people come outside, and that leads to a lot of violence, and specifically gun violence. But I'm here today to report out on some good news. In the city of Oakland, it's the city that I was born in, it's the city that I love with all my heart. There has been some great news and a real sustained drop in gun violence. Homicides in Oakland fell from 118 in 2023 to 78 in 2024, and a record low of 57 last year. It's the city's lowest homicide rate in decades. Officials and researchers point to one program in particular I wanted to highlight here at the board, Oakland's Ceasefire Lifeline Initiative, run by the city's Department of Violence Prevention. Each week, city officials review recent shootings and identify people most likely to be pulled into retaliation on further violence. Outreach workers then find those individuals, connect them with life coaches, and a range of services, not as punishment, but offering another way forward. That kind of progress does not happen by accident and certainly does not happen quickly. It is the product of years of patience, person-by-person work by outreach workers, life coaches, clergy, prosecutors, and city staff who show up for people that much of society has given up on. So I want to formally recognize that, and I want to shout out Mayor Barbara Lee for her leadership in continuing this trend, and I hope those numbers continue to trend downwards, because 57 is certainly still too much. And also, moving forward, I also wanted to recognize July 30th, which is National Support Public Education Day. It's an observance marked across this country since 2010 to recognize teachers, administrators, bus drivers, cafeteria staff, and counselors who work on running our great, great public schools. This observance is certainly personal for me. I was a former school teacher. My mother, for years, has worked as a school monitor in the Antioch Unified School District, making sure our kids are safe on campus. And today, my brother is a classroom teacher. I have seen firsthand in my own family how much these jobs demand, but how little fanfare it gets. And it's very, very relevant to this board and the work we do in property tax administration, which directly funnels our public school dollars and make sure that these kids have a chance at life to be successful and to really live out their dreams. And then lastly, I also wanted to recognize, I have this great privilege back home in the city of San Francisco, where I hail from. I'm the chair of the San Francisco Human Rights Commission, and this week is Black Maternal Health Week. For a lot of Black mothers that are going through it, we formed a special subcommittee to really highlight the issues of preterm births, prenatal births, and it's becoming a huge issue. And as a man, I'm an ally, and I'm lending my ear to the serious issue, but we understand that life begins at a very, very early stage, and the health outcomes that you have as a mother, to make sure that you have the resources, that you're able to visit your doctors, to make sure you're able to see a health and a birth all the way through. It's really important to the success of a child as well. So I really want to highlight all the Black mothers and also just the mothers in general that are doing the amazing work and trying to live a great, great healthy life. And it's important that we support those health outcomes. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Well, thank you, members, for all your comments. And we'll go to our first order of business, which is the safety and informational announcements presented by Ms. Cicchetti.
Good morning again, everyone. First, I'd like to remind the audience to silence your cell phones and any other wireless devices. Our safety announcement: in the auditorium, the exits are located on each side of the stage at the front, with additional exits at the rear. Please take a moment to locate the exit sign and closest exit to you in the event of an emergency. Our informational announcement: the board meeting will be live streamed to the public and posted on the BOE website. Public comments are taken on each agenda item. If there are any members of the public wishing to speak before the board on any agenda item in person, we ask that you complete and submit to the Sergeant of Arms a public comment appearance sheet located at the entrance of the auditorium. If you wish to speak to the board by telephone, please dial the phone number and access code provided on a public agenda notice and follow the instructions of the AT&T moderator. When giving public comments, please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. We also ask that all speakers in the auditorium and on the AT&T telephone line state their name for the record before speaking. This concludes the safety and informational announcements. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cicchetti.
Madam Chair?
Excuse me. Yes.
Just quick, I forgot at my opening remarks, if I could just, a little point of
Yes.
privilege here. I have one of my new staffers who's been with me a while, but first time up in Sacramento, and is Joe Angel Samora, if you'd stand in the back. He took Juan Carlos's position as I moved Juan Carlos up to, as a chief dep. Just wanted to welcome him. I know some of you maybe have heard or maybe have gotten a phone call from him, but here he is in person.
Excellent, excellent. It's great to put a face to a name, and thank you so much for joining us today. And welcome on board, a little bit belatedly, but sincerely. Thank you. So members will go to item 1, public comments on matters that are not on the agenda. Persons who wish to address the Board of Equalization regarding items that are not on the agenda today may do so under this item. Please note that the board cannot act on items not on the agenda. However, we can schedule issues raised by the public for consideration at future meetings. And I've been advised that we do not have any written comments nor speaker cards. So we'll go ahead and go to the AT&T moderator. Moderator, if you could please let us know if there's anyone on the phone line who would like to make a comment on item 1.
If you have a comment, please press 1, then 0. Once again, for comments on the phone, please press 1, then 0. And at this time, there are no comments from the phone lines.
Okay, thank you, moderator. So we'll keep on moving to item 2, which is program matters.
Excuse me, Chair Lieber, I believe Ms. Cohen is on the line. If we could take a moment to
Yes,
acknowledge that
please.
she has come, if that's okay.
Yes, good morning, colleagues. It's good to be with you today, even if I'm coming in virtually. Good morning to the staff and also to the members of the public.
All righty.
Thank you, Mr. Kay. We can go ahead with the business,
Morning,
yes.
yeah, let me do my little speech here. Controller Code is appearing
Okay.
remotely. If a member of the board attends a meeting by teleconference from a remote location, the member shall disclose whether any other individual 18 years or older are present in the room at the remote location with the member and the general nature of the member's relationship to such individual. Therefore, Controller Cohen, is there anyone 18 years of age or older present in the room at your remote location?
No, I'm alone.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to this fiscal year 2026 through 2027, private railroad car tax rate. This is a constitutional function, and Mr. McCool is here and ready to present on the item.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Lieber and honorable members of the board. My name is Jack McCool, Chief of the State Assessed Properties Division. I am here today to report on this year's private railroad car tax rate. This year's rate is 1.157%, which is up slightly from last year's 1.151%. The rate is computed annually by the board's Research and Statistics Division under the provisions of Revenue and Taxation Code Section 11403. This code section states that the board shall annually compute the average rate of general property taxation in the state. The rate is calculated annually using data from the State Controller's Office and is approved by the BOE's Executive Director and reported to the board at the July board meeting for informational purposes. The approved tax rate is applied by the State Assessed Properties Division to the annual private railroad car assessed values. The private railroad car assessed values multiplied by this approved rate will equate to the amount of tax due for each private railroad car assessee. This item is for informational purposes only and does not require any board action. That concludes the report on the 2026 private railroad car tax rate. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Any questions or comments? Vice Chair.
Yeah, thank you for this update. And earlier I just had asked it in terms of how this is calculated. And it was a long and laborious explanation, but it's basically a culmination of rates throughout the state. And, I keep thinking of Prop 13 and how that relates to property. I know this is private railroad cars, but Prop 13 limits that to 1%.
Correct.
But typically most counties may have school fees or other taxes that would bring the average up a wee bit. But this sounds like it's in line with kind of what people are paying in terms of taxes actually on their homes throughout the state.
Absolutely, yes.
So just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, anyone else?
Sally?
Yes, Mr. Schaefer.
It's required that you report this to the board every year.
That is the current practice, yes.
Well,
I'm not sure if it's required, but I believe, in the past, I believe that the board actually adopted the rate. And at some point in the semi-recent past, the board delegated the authority to approve the rate to the executive director with the provision that the approved rate be reported to the board.
Well, our revenue and taxation code mandates that certain things that are approved, such as extensions to county assessors, that be reported by the executive director to us. Does this item have revenue and taxation code or government code, some kind of support, or is it just a decision made by staff?
I do not believe the code section specifically states it must be approved by the board. It just specifies that the board must calculate the rate annually and specifies on how to do so.
Right. Well, whenever we authorize the executive director to make decisions, unless there's something specific requiring that we be notified of it, I would favor that we not be updated on it any more often than maybe annually. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, members, and thank you, Mr. McCool. As Mr. McCool indicated, this is a informational item only. We do not have any written communications nor any speaker cards from the auditorium. So we'll go ahead to the AT&T moderator. Moderator, if you would please let us know if there are any callers hoping to make comments on item 2.
Certainly, and to make a comment, please press 1 followed by 0. 1 followed by 0. And we presently have no one in queue. Please continue.
Okay, thank you. Well, we will conclude that item and go to item 3, adoption of the 2026 private railroad car roll. And this is a constitutional item again. It will be presented by Ms. DiNapoli. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Lieber and honorable board members. My name is Pamela DiNapoli. I'm a manager in the State Assessed Properties Division. I'm here today to present for your consideration and adoption, the 2026 private railroad car tax assessment roll. Before you is a report entitled the 2026 Recommendation for Assessment of Private Railroad Cars. This report represents the staff's recommendation for lien date 2026. Assessment of private railroad cars under provisions of the private railroad car tax law. This year's total recommended assessed value is slightly more than 1.1 billion, resulting in approximately 13.2 million in tax. Upon adoption of staff's recommendation, SAPD staff will prepare the 2026 private railroad car tax bills and send them to the private railroad car taxpayers by the required statutory date of October 15th. The tax is due by December 10th, and the tax collected is deposited into the state's general fund. I ask for your adoption of the roll, and I am available if there are any questions.
Thank you. Any questions, members? Mr. Schaefer.
Yes, it's very attractive pictures in the supporting material here of railroad cars. Is this required that we present it by statute, or is this just your policy to present it to us?
I think it's required. You have to adopt it.
It's what?
It's required. It must be adopted by the board members.
Okay, whenever it's not really required by revenue and taxation code or government code, as is the extensions given assessors, I would favor that this be handled in-house, and we just trust you to do a good job and don't have to inform us on it. Thank you.
Okay, members, the needed motion is to approve the assessment of private railroad cars under the provisions of the private railroad car tax law.
So moved.
Mr. Vasquez moves. Mr. Schaefer, would you like to provide a second on that?
Second.
Okay. So we do not have any written comments on this item, nor any comment cards from the auditorium today. So we'll go to our AT&T moderator. Moderator, if you could please let us know if there's anyone hoping to make a comment on item 3.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Certainly, if you'd like to make a comment, please press
Sir.
1 followed by 0. And we have no comments.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Schaefer, your point of order.
I'm drawing a line between things that we're expected to decide on and things that we're just getting notifications on. If we're just getting notifications on, I don't think the public has any jurisdiction to comment on what we're notified on. That's not a decision matter. I think we should be concerning ourselves with public call-in only on it's a decision matter, so the public can chime in on the decision if they want to. These are information items, and I would think we could lessen the burden on yourself as to the number of inquiries you make if we limit it to decision items instead of everything.
Well, before we go to our legal staff, this is one of those decision items. So that's why I took a motion from Mr. Vasquez and you seconded. But it is our custom and practice to take public comment on all the items that are on the agenda. And as long as we move briskly, we can get it all done.
So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So members.
Madam Chair, may I interrupt? I'm
Controller,
sorry, I don't
please.
think you saw me. Thank you for acknowledging me, and good morning, everyone. I just was listening to Member Schaefer's remarks, and thank you very much for addressing them. I just want to make sure that I am at least on the record in sharing my views. I don't want my silence to be interpreted as being complicit or in support of Member Schaefer's remarks. I disagree with you, Member Schaefer. I think that it is our democratic responsibility to be transparent and to be open. And our job is to welcome feedback, whether it's constitutionally required or not. We are representing people, and people have thoughts and suggestions on many of the matters that we're discussing on this agenda item. The chair mentioned that it is the pattern and practice of this body, and I agree with it. I think it's the correct direction that we should be going in, listening to people, hearing their thoughts, and then, of course, incorporating them where it makes sense. So to suggest that if we're not constitutionally responsible or required for reporting or to receive comment on an agenda item, I think is just a little bit narrow, and where my values lie, it makes me uncomfortable. I think we should be welcoming more feedback and interaction from the public, not restricting it. Thank you. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Controller. So we've opened up an opportunity for public comment. And so I'll indicate that we have a motion from Mr. Vasquez, seconded by Mr. Schaefer, to approve the assessment of private railroad cars on this 2026 matter. So we will go ahead and ask Ms. Cicchetti to please open the roll.
All right. Chair Lieber,
Aye.
Vice Chair Gaines,
Aye.
Member Vasquez,
Aye.
Member Schaefer,
Aye.
Controller Cohen.
Aye.
Thank you, members. That item passes unanimously. And we'll go on to item 4, adoption of the 2026 State Assessed Property Roll. Again, this is constitutional function, and Mr. Ibarra will be making the presentation.
Good morning, Chair Lieber and honorable members of the board. My name is Jason Ibarra, Supervisor in the State Assessed Properties Division. I'm here to present for your consideration and adoption the 2026 State Assessed Property Roll. I'd like to take a moment just to acknowledge the hard work of our division. Some of my team members are actually here today, some of our real property appraisers, as well as some of the team members from the tax area services section. So their hard work contributed. They're just a small part of all the people in our division that were contributing to this year's roll.
Thank you.
Before you is a report entitled the 2026 Recommendation for the State Assessment of State Assessed Property. This recommendation reflects the unitary values adopted by the board on May 27, 2026, now fully allocated to each county. The final roll also includes all adjustments to the role based on prior board actions. Adjustments include value changes from last year's appeal decisions, board-adopted audit findings, as well as board-adopted land escaped assessments. The final role also includes staff-recommended non-unitary values. Non-unitary values make up only about 1% of the total role and are typically vacant land parcels that are not being used by state assessees. This year's state assessed roll totals approximately $169.7 billion of assessed value. Upon adoption of these recommendations, state assessed property division staff will transmit the allocated assessments to the 58 counties so the counties may generate tax bills and collect the property tax. Staff will provide each county auditor's office with an electronic version of the roll, and the electronic copy will be followed by a hard copy sent via U.S. mail. An electronic version is also transmitted to each county assessor's office as well. Each state assessee receives notice of their allocated unitary assessment, as well as their approved non-unitary value. Each notice provides information regarding how to file an appeal if they wish to do so, and provides the deadline dates to file an appeal. Members, that concludes my presentation of this item. I ask for your adoption of the 2026 State Assessed Property Roll. Thank you.
Okay, members, are there questions on this? Mr. Vasquez?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I just had one quick question. I noticed this is the first time on the rolls we have the VoIP telecom included, and I was just wondering if you see any assessments or appeals moving forward.
Thank you for the question. For the record, Jack McCool, Chief of the State Assessed Properties Division. We continue to do a lot of work behind the scenes for the new VoIP entities that we have assessment jurisdiction over. I'm not aware currently of any appeals that have been filed, but the filing deadline was this past Monday, so we'll find out more about that in the coming days. But we do consider VoIP to be a growing industry from our perspective, simply because there's still a lot of discovery work to be done within that sub-industry group.
Thank you.
Okay. Controller, did you have any questions or comments?
No, ma'am. Thank you for asking.
Thank you. Okay. Members, the requested motion is to approve the allocations of the unitary values that were adopted by the board in May of 2026, plus adjustments that are based on prior board action and staff recommended non-unitary values. So, Mr. Vasquez, would you like to move this? Mr. Schaefer?
I notice that the percent increase or decrease is sometimes 1%, sometimes over 20%. Is the reason for that there's added construction and value, or is the reason for that something going on in the neighborhood? I suppose for 50 different assessments, you'd have 50 different stories, but is there something general about that you could tell me as to your criteria for coming up with the increase and decreases values?
Thank you for the question. Oh, the light is not working. Jack McCool, Chief State Assessed Properties Division. We do see increases that can range quite substantially within individual industries, but the overall assessment roll for this year is just over 3% higher compared to the prior year. That 3% overall increase is pretty consistent with the past few years. It's usually in the 2 to 4% increase range overall. So while you can see in the recommendation booklet, certain industry groups have larger increases or decreases, those can be attributed to specific factors within an industry, but the overall assessment roll is 3.13% higher than last year. So that total increase is pretty typical that we've seen in the last 5 to 10 years.
Oh, thank you.
Of course.
Okay, thank you, members. Vice Chair.
Just wanted to get clarification in terms of the increased value. In years past, you've mentioned that there have been infrastructure improvements made. Is that what's driving this?
Largely, yes.
Yeah.
So as we kind of touched on back in May, the overwhelming majority of assessed value is, for our state assessed role, is still tied to the large investor-owned electric utilities. That, I think the top 3 or 4 companies make up about 75% of our assessed value. Those companies are continuing to invest significant amounts of money replacing very old property with newer, safer property. So to your point, yes, that increase pulls the entire roll up.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion from Mr. Vasquez on the table. Mr. Schaefer, would you like to second that?
Thank you, I do second it.
Okay, thank you. And members, we do not have any written comments nor any speaker cards from the auditorium. So we're going to go to the AT&T moderator to ask if there's anyone hoping to make a comment on item 4.
To make a comment, please press 1 followed by 0. 1 followed by 0. And we presently have no comments.
Okay, thank you. So we'll bring it back to the board. And we have a motion to approve the allocations of the unitary values that were adopted by the board in May 2026, plus adjustments based on prior board action and staff recommended non-unitary values. And a motion from Mr. Vasquez and seconded by Mr. Schaefer. And Mr. Ibarra, did you have any closing comments?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and go to the vote. Mr. Ketty?
Thank you. Chair Lieber,
Aye.
Vice Chair Gaines.
Aye.
Member Vasquez.
Aye.
Member Schaefer.
Aye.
Controller Cohen.
Aye.
Okay, members, that passes unanimously. And before we go on to our next item, I'd just like to thank all the staff of State Assessed Properties Division who are here today and those who couldn't make it today for all of your work throughout the year. Obviously, your work supports many local services, including our schools, our fire districts, our cities, and et cetera. And so the work that you do every day has a very large reach into California and into keeping our communities secure, great places to live. And we very much appreciate everything that you do throughout the year. So let's give them a round of applause since they're here today. Thank you so much. And members will go ahead. Actually, are we supposed to take a break right now? Or we have time to go ahead and we will go to item 5 on the consent agenda. This is the adoption of the June 24th, 2026 board meeting minutes. And would anyone like to make a motion on this item?
So moved.
Mr. Vasquez. And Vice Chair, would you like to provide a second on this? Vice Chair. Does anyone on the board have any questions or comments regarding this item? And seeing none, we do not have any written comments nor speaker cards. So we'll go to the AT&T moderator. Moderator, is there anyone who's holding who would like to make a comment on item 5?
Please press 1 followed by 0 to make a comment. And we presently have no comments.
Okay, thank you. Members, we have a motion to approve the minutes from Mr. Vasquez, seconded by Vice Chair. And so we'll go ahead and go to Ms. Cicchetti.
Chair Lieber,
Aye.
Vice Chair Gaines.
Aye.
Member Vasquez.
Aye.
Member Schaefer.
Aye.
Controller Cohen.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, members. That passes unanimously. And we will go on now to item 6 under board member matters. This is recommendations regarding clarification of officer elections. And Mr. Schaefer will be presenting on this item.
Thank you. You know, a lot of us are focusing on changes in how we could be better service to the public and going into various areas that need addressing, and I welcome that. But we do have to take time sometimes to look at our internal rules and how we conduct our meeting and to try to be more efficient. I noticed this month Chair Lieber has a very interesting proposal to improve the way we deal with memorial adjournments. I am really concerned about the how we pick our chair at the end of the year. When I came aboard 7 years ago, we would just say, does anybody want to run for chair? Raise your hand. If you want to give us a message, you can. Something we weren't expecting. And I think the executive director would do that for us. I was so impressed with the way Controller Malia Cohen handled it a year ago. She took it upon herself to ask those who wanted to run for views on what we have done while we've been on the board that might be of interest to the public. And she also invited us to explain our views for the coming year that might be of good to the board. And I thought that was a brilliant move. I would just like to codify that because it's clear to all of us that she's not going to be serving as chair if she's controller or whoever is controller. They will, for now to the end of time, be on the board, and from now to the end of the time, they will be a non-chair. And I think it would be an improvement in our guidance for this board and all future boards if we would simply provide that in the rules that the chair is not being eligible to serve, the controller not being eligible to serve as chair, should handle the choice of a chair and make reasonable inquiries as we have in this last year as to what the person has done and what the person plans for the year. I think that is a very much of a strengthening of the role of the controller, and I think it's an improvement in our governance rules for all time. And I would, just like I am going to be joining Chair Lieber in her effort to improve our memoriam, I would think we would not have any opposition within the board as to what I'm suggesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Members, Mr. Vasquez.
Yeah, excuse me. So I'm a little confused. So what, is there a recommendation you're trying to make here on this proposal?
Well, I'm just asking, I'm moving the adoption of it, and I would like a second. And the changes are that we amend the governing policies to make explicit our customary restriction of the chairmanship and the vice chairmanship to our 4 members, excluding the controller. That's what we've been doing, and I'd just like us to say so. Secondly, I propose that the controller be identified as the presiding officer for the election of the chair and the vice chair for the duration, our last election, she did a superlative job and asked a couple of general questions of each of the persons who were running. I'm asking that we adopt both of these modest changes in our governance policy. So governance policy says that she is not involved in the election of chair or vice chair, except she conduct the election and make inquiries of the candidates if it's a contested election. That's the final paragraph of my two-page letter, which took a lot of research to put together so I could share with you what my findings were. Thank you.
So basically, because I guess in the governance, you're saying it's not clear and you want to make it clear, it sounds like that the controller should not be able to be the chair or the vice chair
Right.
moving forward. Okay. And then, but then it sounds like, I guess you're adding to that, that he or she should be the one running the elections?
Right, instead of the executive director, she is a non-eligible person sitting with us, and it'd be appropriate if she sort of conducts a little discussion as to who's going to be our leader for the coming year.
Well, I thought it was last time we had, or last couple times, I guess it's been done by our legal or staff, which I think is probably the most appropriate, only because at the end of the day, I guess we should try to make it at least the appearance that this, one, is as transparent as possible, and two, because whoever is the chair moving forward on the BOE sits on the franchise tax board where the controller is, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
I think the first couple of years when we got elected up here, I thought, well, then it was, I think it was our attorney back then that ran it. And as a matter of fact, the controller then, Betty E., made it a point to basically stay out of the whole process as much as possible, which I think is probably the most appropriate, so it doesn't look like they're weighing in or actually having any influence on it. Because at the end of the day, like I said, whoever does become the chair sits on the franchise tax board, which is only a member of 3, technically only 2 electeds.
Well, have you had a chance to read my letter, which went out, which included
Yeah,
in the minutes?
that's what I'm asking, because it wasn't real clear to me on that. And it sounds like you were pushing that the controller should take more leadership on this?
Yes, yes, it's a.
And I don't think that's appropriate, but so I'd like to hear what the other members, and it sounds like we have legal counsel on the front of this as well. Wanted to
Okay.
chime in.
And so we've got a signal from both vice chair and the controller, and then we'll go to legal for their input. Vice chair.
I would like to hear legal. Can we hear from legal and then I'll comment?
Shirley.
I'd like clarification there. That'd be great.
Yeah, Ms. Himovitz, please.
I can't tell if okay. Julia Himvitz on behalf of the legal department. So do you have a specific question for me that you'd like me to answer, or?
Oh, you're just making yourself available.
Or just,
I thought you were going to provide
I heard
clarity.
legal mentioned several times, so I'm making myself available
Okay.
for questions. I would note that there is a motion on the floor. There is no second. So I just want to point that out. But in terms of just a little historical context, so there's 2 issues that are being addressed. The first is that previously the controller has served as chair of the board, but that was prior to the creation of FTB. It happened 100+ years ago or something. I don't know the actual math on that. But so that was the only time that has happened in the past. This board, when you guys took office, you adopted an election policy as to how the chair and vice chair would be elected. That has changed over the years. And so you currently have in your governance policy how you would like the chair and vice chair to be elected. Who runs that has traditionally been staff. So you can deviate from that. Were I to be asked if I recommend that, I do not, for reasons that have been mentioned. I think that Controller Cohen did an excellent job at getting the questions answered that she wanted to hear, but any one of you at any point during that process has the opportunity to do that. It doesn't need to be run by the controller in that moment.
Okay.
Okay. Is that sufficient for right now?
Yeah, and then if I could just, I guess my concern is we also have change of this board, which asks, it asks another question about deciding on the chair with a board where 3 members are leaving. So I guess that's one question. And quite frankly, I feel more comfortable letting the new board members and the ones that move forward make that decision. And secondly, I think I would be, I like the way we've done it in the past. And so I'm not convinced we need to change it.
Well, I like the way we did it
Excuse me.
last year particularly.
Let's, we've got a line here, and I am aware that we have a motion. Controller Cohen.
Oh, great, thank you. I like the direction that I'm hearing this discussion going in. I just want to start with some of my thoughts that I wrote down. I want to lead with just the legal reality here, and we heard a little bit of that from our general counsel. And because I think that the legal reality actually resolves the entire item. As a practical and structural matter, the controller can't simultaneously chair the franchise tax board and chair this body. I cannot chair both. And that's the reality. And that reality already does the work this proposal is trying to do by policy, which is why I think this item is unnecessary. And I ask that the board reject it outright. I can go into further details and make a stronger argument, but it sounds like based on the conversation and the legal voice that's been inputted, I think we just need to dismiss this and move on. The laws already are very clear and stipulates. Member Schaefer, thank you very much for being so complimentary, but I really did not do anything fantastic, certainly not anything that needs to be codified. I just used the gray matter in between my head and thought critically and asked people to make a persuasive argument as to why we should support you or support this person to be the chair or the vice chair. And I think that is what we as elected officials do every single time we go to the ballot. And so the franchise tax board structure, according to Government Code Section 15700, makes the franchise tax board a 3-member body. You got the controller, you got the director of finance, and you have the chairperson of the Board of Equalization. 3 separate named seats by, quite frankly, is a very long and established standing practice. The controller chairs the franchise tax board. If the controller also becomes the chair of this board, one person would simultaneously occupy 2 of the FTB's 3 statutorily distinct seats. And, honestly, this would collapse the 3-member structure, and the legislature built into 2 actual people holding it. So I don't think we need to disrupt the apple cart. Please, colleagues, if you will join me, reject this. Don't even second the motion. Let's dispense with this issue and keep moving forward with the other items on the agenda. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Schaefer, did you have
I don't think it's clear at all that the controller is not eligible to be chair because of the conflicts, because of the franchise tax board obligations. It's never going to happen, but it's not clear. And that's just why you could take maybe the first of my 2 items and just put in our governance that what's really the reality is that the controller is not a candidate for the chairmanship. I would like that to be said someplace. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer, and thank you for all the good work. I did read your memo several times, and I thought it was a very good one. I did almost understand it on the first pass, but then I took a couple more passes just to enjoy the writing. And so I'm not in agreement with it, though, mostly because our controller over the past several years, when I've been here, has provided so much good input to our discussion about the vice chair and chair election. And I would not want to see a loss of that input because the controller would be running the election in essence. I think right now.
Good point.
We have adequately removed. Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. So I'm not going to make a second on this at this time, but I would like to keep it in my mind, and then we can bring it up perhaps with the new board. And when the new board is meeting, we're going to import you from San Diego to come up here to keep that new board if I'm fortunate enough to be on it. We'll have you be keeping that new board honest.
There's nothing in this for me. I want you to know this.
Yes,
I
no,
was trying
no.
to save the world in a little.
I know, you have a great California spirit, and there's no one who's going to surpass you in that. So right now, we
I
do
have
not,
this feeling, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
yes, please, Vice Chair.
that you'll be back, right?
it-
I would imagine that Member Schaefer will probably be making recommendations after our terms are ended.
Oh, he's going to be required to do that. He's going to be required to do that. We are not letting up on Mr. Schaefer and
We know how engaged you are.
in any way, shape, or form, and even if it's just public comment, but it's going to be a lot more. I think it's going to be written missives that are going to really keep people on their toes.
Well, I appreciate Ted's suggestion that perhaps the new board should take a look at this, and I will withdraw the issue and invite the new board to take a look at this issue.
Okay, thank you so much. And since we have it on our agenda, Controller?
Yes, thank you. Well, I just want to say this. No controller has ever sought or served as chair of this board, and the Franchise Tax Board's own statutory structure already prevents us from going forward. I don't think we need to move it forward, let the future board, like this is frankly, in honest terms, a bad idea. And I think it is our duty as leaders in this moment, when bad ideas come before us, it is our job to kill it. When good ideas come before it, we support it and we, allow it to move forward or allow it to take root. I will be on the body for the next 4 years. And if this matter comes up, I will again discourage the new colleagues to support it, not to support this. This is just not a good idea. I don't think we need to hold it off. I mean, it doesn't sound like we still have an open motion that has not been seconded, which means that the motion is going to die. But I just want to go on record in disagreement with the rationale that we should let the future board determine. There's nothing to determine.
Yes, thank you so much for those comments. And we're not formally moving it forward in time, but I think there's a lack of a second. So it's sort of done for now, for sure. And I know that Mr. Schaefer can.
Well, I've withdrawn the matter. And just
Mr.
suggested
Schaefer
that
is
the,
withdrawn.
Next board take a look at it. I think this will give our controller something to live for next January.
Well, we won't
No, sir, I
formally-
don't want anything else to look for. I'm fine.
No, she's
I'm
got
fine.
enough.
We've got 150 years of BOE history. We got 96 years of FTB transition, a tradition. There's no need to make any changes at this point
Yes.
with this matter.
And now,
This topic.
because Mr. Schaefer has removed his motion, we do not even need to kill this kindly, but we do need to take public comment on it because it's on our agenda. So let's, we don't have any written comments nor speaker cards from the auditorium, so we'll go to our AT&T moderator. Moderator, would you please let us know if there's anyone holding on the line who would like to make a comment on item 6?
For comments on the phone lines, please press 1, then 0. Once again, for comments on the phone lines, please press 1, then 0. And there are no comments at this time.
Okay, thank you. Members, that concludes item 6, and we are going to take a 10-minute break at this time. And it is right at 11 o'clock, so we'll come back at 11:10. Thank you. presented by Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Chair Lieber. As we discussed previously at board, housing affordability is a serious problem in California. Despite statewide efforts to lower the cost of housing, progress is slow, and the cost of housing remains out of reach for many Californians. It is incumbent upon us as elected officials to examine possible policy solutions germane to the board's jurisdiction, which may be able to help ease the burden. Last year, we had an informational hearing on the modular housing as a tool to aid in disaster relief and recovery. And we learned a great deal about the benefits and efficiencies of modular housing. In January of 2026, the Assembly Select Committee on Housing Construction Innovation held a series of hearings about whether and to what extent the state can engage productively with the modular housing industry, which led to some legislation on this issue. Following those hearings, the UC Berkeley Turner Center for the Housing Innovation published a report highlighting the recommended solutions to foster the development of that industry, which shows great promise regarding reducing the cost of construction. At least one of those solutions was directly related to property taxation, a possible property tax abatement program for the projects utilizing modular housing. And I believe that this report is worth discussing and learning more about. As a result, I am proposing an informational hearing for next month, during which we can hear from the report author and others to learn more about these ideas. Due to next month's TRA hearing, I am cognizant of the potential time constraints which may exist, so I am proposing a brief informational hearing, approximately 60 to 90 minutes time in the afternoon. And depending on the testimony we receive, we could engage more in these ideas at a future meeting. I would appreciate time and consideration on this proposal, and let me just open it up to my colleagues, and if there's anybody here in the public that wants to address this. And I wanted to thank actually our vice chair who participated actually in the first hearing we did on it, but now this is kind of just more zeroed in on the modular piece. Yeah.
Okay, and I got a little motion of assent with that time frame for that date. Vice Chair, did you have comments?
I did. I want to thank Member Vasquez for bringing this forward. And the modular aspect, I think, looks like it provides some real savings for home construction, so that's very encouraging. And I guess from my standpoint, I'm always looking for, are there opportunities for market rate? You know, can we work with home builders to build something affordable without having it subsidized? There's new legislation that I think went into effect this year that adjusts some of the fees for your housing, for your building permit based on square footage. And I find that very encouraging because it's not a disincentive now to build a smaller home. And with the way costs are, I think that is part of the answer too, is we need to get a lot more smaller homes built. And we need to figure out ways to adjust our regulations so that we can have market-based housing. And I mean, philosophically, we need to provide the environment to have people satisfy the American dream. And part of that, I think very much so in our society, is still the ability to buy a home. So I thank you for bringing this forward and look forward to learning more about it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Imran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to also thank Member Vasquez for bringing this forward. It's really a very unique concept. It's something that the board should study. To ditto and echo Vice Chair Gaines' points, it's so hard to build. It's almost $1 million per unit to build in California. And we need to find viable options, alternative options, and also when there's fires that happen and burns down a home, it takes years and years to rebuild somebody's home, and to a point where some of these projects are halfway done and just left in shambles. I was driving down the PCH just to see the destruction and the carnage on one of the most beautiful coastlines in the entire world. Is really, really sad. So I think we need to continue to look at this as the Board of Equalization, as somebody that does property tax in general. It's a really good way to look at it. And I encourage Member Vasquez, as he brings our participants forward, to include members of the Housing Committee and also UC Berkeley and other people that are doing the research and on the ground, especially those in the private sector as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer.
Yes, I want to thank Member Vasquez for bringing this issue forward, but my opinion is he's in the last few months of a strong 8-year service on the board, and you know, this is raising a major issue as you're on your way out. I would like to see this issue come in with the new board, where they'll be there for 4 to 8 years to monitor what's going on and grow with it. And you can't do that, and we can't do it. Most of us are leaving. Also, I'm frightened by the 1 to 2 hour portion. I would not favor 10 speakers and 2 hours of our time debating this because it's an issue that most of us are leaving the board. I would like to see, if you are going to go ahead and present it, that it be with a few speakers, and that we be not over an hour on the matter, because we do have a lot of things to try to conclude before we end our service, you, myself, and Member Gaines. So I'm not as optimistic of this as I would have been if you would have brought it up 4 years ago. Thank you.
Yeah, did you have something to?
Well, I have some comments that may
Go ahead.
be helpful in this. So I think what's very important to me about the timing of it is that members of the legislature are planning their bill packages earlier and earlier before the start of session. And I did personally have a bill that we shopped around last year, and I found that members' bill packages were filled up by October. So I think the time frame is well placed for something like this. I do have a couple of thoughts, and one is that when we're talking about property tax abatements for all modular housing, I think that it should just be for affordable modular housing, because abating a property tax is like spending money in adding to the budget. And more communities are having to go to parcel taxes for this, parcel taxes for that. And it just is something that becomes so additive that it's unclear. And an issue that I heard raised by the Turner Center the other day when they were on KQED Forum was the capacity of the modular housing industry in California was a significant threshold issue. So I would like it in your discussions with Turner, should this item go forward, and I believe that it will, that you ask them to address the capacity issue here. And then I'd like to ask if we can really keep the property tax abatements within the affordable housing guide, corral. And then the last thing that I'd like to ask is that we continue to move in the direction that has been our custom and practice of having a report at the end of the process. Rather than minutes, if we can accept a report with more information in it. But I think it's always very valuable to hear from the Turner Center. They're a great asset at a public university, and it's a very important conversation right now. So Mr. Vasquez, back to you.
Thank you, thank you. Appreciate the comments and suggestions, taking notes. And kind of touch on the issue, I guess, that Member Schaefer brought up. You know, actually, when I first started looking at modular housing 20 years ago, I wasn't real impressed with the product. And it wasn't until after, sad to say, you know, the two big major fires we had in my district, you know, between Palisades and in Altadena, that I was approached by a couple of these folks that are actually building these things locally, assembling them. One of them was in Gardena, the other one was in Compton. And when I went to visit them, I was actually impressed by the quality that's coming out on these modular homes. And I think to Vice Chair's point, some of these, at first I thought, well, these are just kind of temporary housing situations, especially for these folks that are trying to figure out what they're going to do with an empty lot, you know, that lost their home. But in some cases, some of these actually could be permanent housing for folks, where it actually takes over the whole structure that they had, that they've lost. And I know many of them, especially in the Palisades right now, are, since they're sitting on a huge lot, they're just plopping these modulars at the back end of this lot while they try to figure out what they're gonna do with the rest of it. And at the end of the day, while they go through the permitting process, and they're still dealing with insurance claims, because many of them were underinsured and some were even not even insured, because, you know, these are 2-3 generations on down. So these folks that are sitting on these properties, you know, I'm thinking most of them were like in my situation, where if you have a mortgage, you have to have insurance. If you don't have a mortgage because it was willed to you, you don't have to have insurance on a piece of property, and people don't understand that. And because of that, you know, some of these youngsters that inherit these properties, you know, when the premiums start shooting up, they just said, you know, we can't afford it. You know, our house is not gonna burn down. And look what happens, they lost their home. And in some cases, not only did they lose their home, but I know of a couple of families that lost their home and their business in the Palisades. So it was like a double whammy for these folks. So I think whatever we could do, hopefully to provide some assistance and some tax break of any, you know, like, and I think to the chair's point on the affordable, make sure that these are affordable units, I think can go a long ways moving forward. So I really appreciate your thoughts and ideas, and I'm hoping that there's the will and support. I'm hoping we can do at least maybe 90 minutes. I don't know if that's if that fits into our schedule for next month, but if it can, we'll squeeze it in there.
Vice Chair.
Oh, yeah, just another thought is that also manufactured housing. Maybe taking a look at that too. I toured the Clayton Home manufacturing facility in the Sacramento region here several years ago, but because that's an affordable option. That's what we see actually a lot of in my district. Is more rural, but it'd be interesting to see what they're doing in terms of product design, because the price point is at the right level for market rate housing for folks. So, thank you.
Mr. Schaefer.
Yeah, I'm impressed that modular housing is getting to be very expensive today, and it's a fast-moving market. And 6 months from now, there'll be maybe even more changes in how we go about providing housing. I can't support something that could run to a couple of hours and 10 people now. I would ask you to take this matter off the docket today and have your successor, whoever he or she may be in January, be offering it as a proposal for discussion, and you come in as the #1 resource, you know, speaking on it. I won't be in this chair, but I would perhaps be watching, because I think you do a good job of what you do, but I'm not ready to support it today. Thank you.
Okay, so let's, I think Mr. Emron has another comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Member Schaefer, I do see what you're saying is 5 months left, but I promise I will work with Member Vasquez if we get a second shot at this to see this through. So, but I do think the discussion is very, very important, that we have to start and get this ball rolling now. It's just government and democracy moves at a slow grind, but I don't think people in California can wait any longer. Thank you.
Okay, and before we go to Mr. Vasquez for a motion, I'd just like to say that I appreciate Mr. Vasquez's flexibility in making sure that any tax abatements are focused on affordable housing components of things. It's just such a lousy time in terms of the economic forecast of county government. And really tough to talk about potentially taking properties off of a board roll at that level. But I do think this is a very well-timed and important topic. So we're looking at 90 minutes on our next agenda.
Yes, if that's would be my motion.
That's great. And so Mr. Vasquez has moved to hold a 90-minute hearing
Second.
on our next agenda, seconded by Mr. Emron. And so we'll go ahead and take public comment on this. We do not have any speaker cards, as I understand it, nor any written communications. And so we'll go to our AT&T moderator. Moderator, if you could please let us know if there's anyone who is holding on the line who would like to make a comment on item 7.
If you'd like to make a comment on the phone lines, please press 1, then 0. Once again, for comments on the phone lines, please press 1, then 0. And there are no comments at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Madam,
Yes, Mr. Schaefer.
if you would rephrase it to 60 minutes, I would vote for it.
We'll work as much as, I'll try to hopefully facilitate and move it as quick as possible. But if we get, we're inviting some good top-notch speakers. If they all decide to show up, it may run into, it might hit that 90, but we'll max out. We'll definitely make sure.
How many speakers do you think are essential? I think
Oh,
we could
excuse
learn a
me,
lot from a
excuse
couple.
me, Mr. Schaefer, we can't have a colloquy right now because we have a motion and a second on the
Yes, right,
floor. And it is the proposal of Mr. Vasquez is outlined here in a substantive letter to us. And there has been a request from other members to have representatives of the housing industry, to have representatives from the Turner Center, hopefully as Mr. Vasquez has done very ably before, to have representatives from labor and from the industry and others. And there may be representation from the legislature as well. So we'll keep it kind of an open situation here at this point in time, but 90 minutes is, I think, a great number. So we have, again, a motion by Mr. Vasquez, seconded by Mr. Emron, to hold a informational hearing on the property tax solutions to increase California's housing supply. And so we'll go ahead and go to Ms. Cicchetti to call the roll, please.
Chair Lieber,
Aye.
Vice Chair Gaines,
Aye.
Member Vasquez,
Aye.
Member Schaefer,
Nay?
Deputy Controller Emron.
Aye.
Okay, members, that passes with 4 yeses and 1 no. So we will keep on going now to item 8. This is my item concerning the adjournments in memoriam. And this is the issue that came up at our last meeting and that I committed to bringing back some options. It wasn't an idea that originated with me, but here it is, some options for us to look at. And so at last month's meeting, we talked about the practice, how we're doing things, and an option is to continue our current practice where members make personal adjournments. And currently, personal adjournments are in the transcript of our meetings, but not in the minutes. And members can also send a letter to the family or community and link to the video proceedings where the adjournment was discussed. And then that goes out pretty much instantly after a meeting. So the second option is formalized process where adjournments are published in the minutes and in the transcripts. And we have some sample language in the item concerning that. I've also added some guidelines here because it does seem that the number of our adjournments has grown over the past several months. And we're pretty sure that it's not due to demographic changes, but more interest changes. And so I'd like to open it up for discussion. The option that we are with currently is very similar to where the legislature is at, where members make a personal adjournment at the end of the meeting and provide the names that they would like to have recognized to staff so that they can be included in the daily journal, but they're not included in the assembly history. So that's a little bit of a difference there. No, sorry, it's a similarity with what is proposed in option 1. I personally would like to stick to where we're at with option 1, but I'd like to hear where others are at. I think I've only done requested a couple of adjournments in these past 4 years. And then I followed up with a letter saying that the adjournment did occur. And here's a YouTube link, and you should look for this timestamp in it so that they could hear the nice things that were said about their person. So reactions. Mr. Schaefer.
Well, I want to thank you for taking a little time to look at how we do business, as I'm always trying to do. I would favor having the adjournment be mentioned in the minutes because when I have offered somebody, I've sent a letter to the family, and it'd be nice to send them a page out of the minutes to document, what I say I did, rather than just tell them I did with that. But I'm a little freaked out by your including anybody who's served on active or retired military and veterans, and anybody who's served in federal, state, or local government. That could be the meter maid who's giving me a ticket in San Diego. That would be the phone book, because it's such a huge population. I think this would be a much stronger proposal if we would not suggest that anybody who is in active or retired military or anybody who's a federal, state, or local government qualifies. I think that is far too broad a criteria. I've offered a few, and I know Ted has too, and I think it's an important part of our meeting, but I'm fearful that it might double in size, and I don't want that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. And I would just add that the guidelines that I've mentioned here are just that guidelines that I'd like to have the members consider. And it does say absent special circumstances. But I think if we sort of tighten up on our current practice a little bit so that, they are individuals who have, are providing a service to the state, the nation. They've made notable accomplishments, or they've lost their lives trying to save the lives of others, and so on. And then we know outstanding individuals in the members' district. And in particular, that comes up for me in the context of gender, because we know that many times with women of a certain age, the men perhaps who are their age cohorts have been able to do great formalized things, and they've been the community workers operating in the background in unformalized but yet vital roles. And so they would be the outstanding individuals in a member's district. But these are simply guidelines for the members that I would like to ask that we all kind of take a good check on. And Mr. Vasquez, did you have further comments?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, for bringing this back to us. Really appreciate it. And I would support formalizing the adjournment process to the extent that we would allow us to name, put the names, like you mentioned, of these important individuals cited in our minutes. Therefore, I kind of lean towards your option B, would be my preference, which we could also include, I guess, formally into the governance policy as an amendment brought forward. The one change I would suggest would be to, rather than giving space for a brief sentence about the life being recognized, the minutes should include maybe the title as provided by the requesting board member. Many of the individuals we wish to recognize have led exceptional lives and may boil down to just a brief sentence, for example. And I think you kind of touched on it, they may not have been an elected official, but maybe been very active in your community or your district. And I think to me that warrants, some honor or at least some recognition. So that's kind of my thoughts. Proposed language, which could provide some flexibility, which could lead to sometimes maybe an additional line or two, and I know we're trying to minimize it as much as possible so it doesn't get too lengthy. But those are kind of my thoughts.
Great, and I think that aligns with, very much with where I'm at, that it could be title, if available, or simply the short sentence of what we're recognizing them for, because there are many, many people who don't have a title but are
Community activists.
so much providing the work. Yeah, and that's a generational thing too, is a lot of the women who have done the real hardcore work in the community don't identify as a community activist because that title didn't exist until a few years ago, and they say, oh, I'm just a homemaker. But you're a homemaker who did these vast number of projects. Yeah. Vice Chair, did you have thoughts?
Why don't I, after Mr. Amron speaks?
Oh, excuse me, Mr. Emra.
I appreciate that. Vice Chair Gaines, I want to thank you for this discussion. It's really important, and memoriams are important. I think it's a great way to recognize the community. However, when it comes to meeting minutes, the controller and I are in belief that meeting minutes should be only describing the actions and votes taken by the board, should not be something ceremonial. And a lot of times, if we are trying to immemorialize a person in a local government, for example, the family would be in the chamber, there would be some type of ceremonial comments being made, but here, to immemorialize private citizens, some of them may not want to be in the spotlight, some of them may not even want their name reflected in the record, so I believe it creates a slippery slope for us as a board. And our option to go with option A, just stick with what the legislature is doing, and there's several options that the Chair Lieber has pointed out in ways that we can honor somebody, a hero that's passed away in California, but not including it in the minutes, transcripts, videos, a letter, sending flowers, vice versa. But the fact that even, I believe in my 7-8 years now here, that we have not had a family member come and speak to this, so I do not believe at this time it is appropriate to go with option B. Thank you.
That's a good point.
And maybe we could get a little input from our legal staff about the difference between the minutes and the transcripts.
Julia Hemvitz on behalf of the legal department. So I want to make sure that I capture what you've asked, but I also want to address Mr. Emron. I would recommend going with what Mr. Emron has suggested for similar reasons. The minutes should be a reflection of formal actions taken by this board. So the motions that you make and whether they pass or not should be what are in the official minutes. You can always close in memoriam for people that are within your district or whatever guidelines you set forward for yourselves, and then send a formal letter or bring some sort of awareness to the family that it has occurred. You can certainly invite them into the boardroom to honor them or their family's memory. The transcripts will always reflect the comments that you say. Those can be requested from board proceedings, and then also the YouTube recording does exist. So I would recommend not putting them into the official minutes. Also, I would note that these minutes get bound into books, which are quite expensive, and so the more that we add to them, the more expensive the books become. And I know Mr. Schaefer does like efficiency and cost savings, so that might be one reason to continue with our current practice.
Okay.
Sally,
Mr. Schaefer.
I appreciate the point Mr. Emron made on the limiting what's in the minutes and the privacy of some people not wanting to be published. I'll withdraw my suggestion that we should have it in the minutes. Thank you.
Okay. Vice Chair.
Yeah, thank you. I like proposal number 1. I think this aspect where we could send a letter or a video or a portion of the transcript, I think those are appropriate for communicating to a family that lost a loved one. I guess you could also look at, we had Adjourn of Memories in the legislature, and that was put like in a folder. That would be another way to formalize something that would talk a little bit about the life of the individual. And I think you could do it relatively inexpensively. You could have a pre-printed form that then could be printed out on a printer and sent to them. So, thank you.
And I would encourage everybody to look at the print catalog that we're each given. I haven't had any printing done because I do have some of those certificates on hand from the previous member in my seat. And because the lag time, if it's 3 weeks before the meeting when you do the adjourn, and then you have to wait a month to get minutes to send someone, I think it's nicer to compress that time when family are available and et cetera. So it sounds like we're kind of centering around no action being needed at this time. But I do agree if we each look at the print catalog, and I think it's personally kind of a grace note to know or inquire as to how many children the person had and to include that number of certificates for them, because that makes something that's very nice for the future for that person. So we will hold on this issue, and I appreciate the members allowing me to develop some ideas in terms of this. And but we are going to take public comment on this one. So we do not have written comments nor speaker cards, and so we'll go to the AT&T moderator. Moderator, if you could please let us know if there's anyone holding on the line who would like to make a public comment on item 8.
If you would like to make a comment, please press 1, then 0. Once again, for comments on the phone lines, please press 1, then 0. And at this time, there are no comments.
Okay, thank you. Well, we'll go on now to item 9, the Executive Director's report presented by Ms. Towers.
Is it on? No. Good morning, Chair Lieber and honorable members, I'm Yvette Sowers, Executive Director. Members, for my first item, I would like to highlight the upcoming California Assessors Association Summer Regional Conference. The conference will be held on August 3rd through the 6th in Napa County, hosted by the Bay Area Assessors Association Management Conference and Napa County Assessor John Tudor. 5 BOE team members will participate in this conference, 2 board members, and 1 staff member from each of those board members, for a total of 9. BOE will be in the house. The next item that I would like to share is August 13, 2026, Assessments Appeals Training, hosted by the Alameda County Clerk of the Board, with in-person training provided by BOE team members from the Legal Department and Property Tax Department. The training topics, as requested by the Clerk of the Board, will include parent-to-child transfers, depreciation schedules, capitalization rates, legislation, and legal updates. The Clerk of the Board has invited all 58 counties personnel associated with assessment appeals issues to participate in this training. The training will take place in Alameda County. Members, as you may recall, we've had extensive conversations about training during the Assessments Appeal Board work group meetings. There were several options placed on the table, but we did not have an opportunity to come to an agreement. I would like to thank and recognize Member Vasquez, since he was the chair of that work group and brought this issue to our attention. And also like to thank the county board, the clerk of the Board of Alameda, for reaching out to us and asking us if we can put something together this past August. My last item is the upcoming Taxpayer Bill of Rights, which is scheduled for August 26th. The hearing provides taxpayers the opportunity, taxpayers, county assessors, and other stakeholders, the opportunity to share feedback and questions and raise concerns regarding California's property tax system and the alcoholic beverage tax, as well as comment on anything discussed in our most recent Taxpayer Rights Advocates Report. The Taxpayer Rights hearing is required by law. Revenue and Taxation Code 5906 of the Morgan Property Tax Bill of Rights and RTC Section 32463 for the alcoholic beverage tax. There is no similar provision in law for the insurance tax. The alcohol beverage tax, as you all know, is a per gallon excise tax collected on the sale, distribution, or importation of alcoholic beverages in California. Our Chief Communication Officer and Acting Taxpayer Rights Advocate will provide more information on this item, but I am asking you to continue to promote the Taxpayer Bill of Rights hearing that is scheduled for August 26th. Members, I will continue to keep your office up to date on details of future events. That concludes my report for item 9. I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Towers? Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Ms. Towers, for the report. You know, when you mentioned about the AAB training, I was just wondering, moving forward, are there any others that are being scheduled moving forward?
Well, we're gonna see how this one goes. They did invite all 58 counties. They sent out about 125 invitations. So let's see if it's well received, if it's not, or if it is well received, we can always do it on an annual basis.
Thank you.
Which is what I believe was what they were asking for.
Okay. Seeing no other questions, thank you so much for that report on item 9. And we'll go on to item 10, extension of time to complete local assessment role. And this is also Ms. Towers, please.
I'm still here. Members, Revenue and Taxation Code 616 requires county assessors to annually complete their local assessment role by July 1st. Section 155 provides the board or the executive director may extend by 30 days the deadline for any official act by the assessor. In the case of public calamity, the deadline may be extended by 40 days. Section 155 also requires the executive director to inform the board of any such extension at the next regular meeting. As required by Section 1.5, I am informing the board that Los Angeles and San Bernardino counties have requested and been granted a 30-day extension to complete their 2026 local assessment roll. That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, any questions, members? Okay, great, thank you so much. And we'll go on to item 11, Operational Priorities Report and Quarterly Budget Report, also presented by Ms. Towers.
Thank you. Members like to start this report with the workforce. Honorable members, BOE continues to have a very low vacancy rate of under 9%. We are actively recruiting a vacant position, and since our last meeting, we have promoted 3 team members. As we continue to advance workforce development, our diverse recruitment team is gearing up for recruitment activities and events to attract a pool of talented professionals to the BOE. Members, the next item is workforce development. State agencies must provide employees with specific training courses according to statute. Some courses must be completed annually, and other courses every 2 to 4 years. The training includes important topics such as ethics, information security, anti-nepotism, and harassment prevention. To ensure all BOE employees timely complete their state-mandated courses, the BOE team members complete specific portions of the training, mandated training at the same time. The mandated training classes are provided online and are self-paced. An agency-wide training cycle eliminates the need to track individual employees' training histories. It allows the agency to efficiently ensure compliance and document the completion of this important effort. Based on the current training cycle, by the end of June, all the BOE team members were required to complete the following training: information security, 1 hour, disclosure awareness, 40 minutes, anti-nepotism, 15 minutes, essential workforce violence prevention training, 30 minutes. The next item I would like to talk about is budget. Members, the following item is the fourth quarter budget report for fiscal year 2025-26. Most of BOE budget's appropriations is allocated to personnel services, payroll, and benefits. The remainder amount, about 14%, is operating expenses. I'm happy to report that BOE expended 96% of our total allocated budget for fiscal year 25-26. Next, fiscal year 26-27. BOE's appropriation for 26-27 is $37,700,000. For personnel services, $30 million, which is a net increase of $264,000 resulting from the approved BCP intergenerational real property transfer. The next item within the budget is operating expenses. It's $7.6 million, an increase of $3.2 million, and that increase is due to our approved BCP Information Technology Modernization Project. Please note that the final appropriation, this is not a final appropriation because we will go through budget drills this fall. Remember, that concludes my report for item 11. My executive management team will provide updates on projects in their respective areas. Thank you, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Questions? Vice Chair.
I'm just curious in terms of how the revenue is coming into the state of California. Are revenues looking better than projected or the opposite?
I'm sorry, sir, I didn't get a chance to look at Finance Bulletin,
Okay,
so I can't answer that right now.
okay. Just curious as we move along, it sounds like we lived within our budget.
We lived
last
within our
year, so
budget.
that's good news. And we
That's
got
very
the-
good news, yes. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
No, that's all right. And we got the BCP for the technology improvements. So that's good. All right, thank you.
Excellent. Other questions? Mr. Vasquez?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for your presentation, Ms. Towers. I know you're probably in the midst of trying to, select or go through at least the process with those two huge vacancies that just were created. And I was just wondering how the pool of applicants are going.
We are still in the recruitment process. Unfortunately, the pool of applicants remains confidential. HR rules.
Is if we're getting a lot of, I guess a lot of, I don't know if you say lineup or a lot of people asking or applying, I should say.
I would say that I did receive several calls when we posted the Chief Deputy Director's position with inquiries. I will also say that I was very active in seeking individuals.
Okay. Any other questions on this one? If not, thank you very much, Ms. Dowers. And we'll go on to item 12, the Chief Counsel's quarterly report that will be presented by Ms. Himovitz.
Good morning, still morning. Julia Himovitz on behalf of the Legal Department. Today I'm going to present to you the Legal Department's quarterly report. In the attachment provided to you on the agenda are the metrics regarding the workload for the department for the second quarter of 2026. I'm going to highlight 3 areas. The first is that the department continues to focus on providing technical advice. And as you recall, we hired 2 new attorneys last month. And with these new additions, we are making a lot of progress in how quickly each assignment can be completed. We receive questions from internal staff, assessors, and the public. Secondly, we are continuing to review and update our regulations. And as you can see, there are a number of updates that are currently ongoing. And lastly, we are getting ready for the state assessed season that is about to begin. This completes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Great. Any questions from Ms. Himovitz? Okay. Mr. Vasquez.
And I don't know if you're going to be touching on this in a minute, but I was just curious moving forward. You know, I was at a conference this last week, and AI seems to be taking over a lot of departments, organizations, and government, in some cases, responsibilities. And I was just wondering from our point of view, and I guess from the legal stand here, what measures or what, I guess, protections do we have in place, or do we have any at this point? Because I know it's such a new phenomenon, what's happening. This thing's just taking off.
So in terms of AI protections within the agency, I believe we do have a policy. I'm not an expert on what we're doing or not doing regarding that at this time. We did just take a training, and I have done some trainings on AI, related to my own profession within the legal department. I'm aware of some services that are available, but our department does not use AI as a matter of practice. We don't have a specific AI resource. So other than that, I can't really speak to it.
I guess I was more, no, I understand, there's going to be some, I'm sure, policy discussions talked that'll be probably handled more from the executive director. I was just thinking from your legal experience, what would you see moving forward in terms of possible some legal issues that could rise within the BOE? Especially I'm thinking in terms of the property tax piece of it.
Sure. Well, so again, the legal department, we don't use AI. So that's not really an issue that I am personally facing in my job. I'm sure the industry is dealing with it in other ways, but in terms of doing legal research and writing, we're not using AI to do that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And I see Ms. Dowers approaching.
It's technology, and I have been kind of putting shades on for that one, but same thing for property tax. They will not be using AI to value property. We do have, I call it GI platform, where if they want to use AI, if the agency wants to use AI for helping them to generate their thoughts, they can. If they use AI and it's all AI for a report, they have to identify that this was generated by AI. So we have the tools, but we're using it in a very limited way and in a closed platform.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you to Ms. Himovitz for that info. And we'll go on now to item 13, Communication Chief's Quarterly Report, presented by Mr. Taylor.
Chair Lieber, honorable members, it is a pleasure to see everyone again. It is rarely an enviable position to stand between an audience and their lunch hour. I will do my best to be informative. For the record, John Taylor, Chief Communications Officer. This quarter, the Communications Department focused on quite a bit more than updating publications and websites and social media posts. We began really laying the foundation for a more modern, more consistent, and more data-informed approach to public communications all across the Board of Equalization. We do that because today people compare their experience with government websites and communications to their digital experiences anywhere in their public lives. That's raised the bar for all of us. People expect information to be easy to find, easy to understand, and available where and when they need it. Meeting those expectations requires a bit more than good writing. It requires us to continually evaluate how we communicate, how people interact with the BOE, and how we continuously improve those experiences. Our work this quarter centered around 3 priorities. First, expanding on our public education and outreach. Second, using data and analytics to better understand the people we serve. And third, preparing for the future through website modernization and stronger communication standards. Beginning with outreach, one of our largest efforts this quarter has been preparing communications for the 2026 Taxpayers' Bill of Rights hearing. Although the hearing itself takes place on a single day, meaningful public participation begins months in advance. That's why we start quite early. This year, we've taken a broader and more strategic approach to outreach by developing communication resources that are more relatable, engaging, and that can be easily shared by our partners. That includes social media toolkits, graphics, web content, video, and messaging designed for all of our partners in the county assessor's offices, taxpayer organizations, legislative offices, professional associations, and other stakeholders who expand the agency's reach. Our objective is simple: make it easier for Californians to learn about the hearing, understand why it matters, and participate in the conversation about California's property tax system and the alcoholic beverage tax. Beyond the hearing, we've also continued expanding educational content across our social media channels. Public awareness of Proposition 19 remains topical and essential. While board meetings and agency announcements remain important, we've placed greater emphasis on practical information that helps taxpayers understand property tax savings opportunities, learn about services available through the Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office, recognize common scams, and access BOE information in multiple languages. To me, that's an important evolution as our responsibility extends well beyond public communications. We're striving to truly improve public understanding. Our second area of focus has been using analytics to better understand how Californians engage with the BOE. One of my many priorities has been building a communications program that measures what works, not just assuming what works. Our audiences have continued to grow across each of our social media channels. But what I find even more valuable is what those audiences are teaching us. We have a much better understanding of who we're reaching, what types of information generate the greatest interest, and which communication channels are the most effective for the various audiences we serve. Every page view, every search, every browser preference, and every user journey helps us to better understand how people are interacting with BOE information. An example remains device usage. One insight is that our audience is truly different from many other government websites, and that's shaping how we think about future improvements. We're also learning more about how visitors navigate through our website and our content. Those insights help us identify which information people value most, where they encounter challenges, and where we can improve navigation and content organization. So these aren't simply statistics to us, they're insights that help us make better decisions. Those insights naturally lead into our third priority, modernization, and they're already beginning to shape how we approach the digital experience. In fact, yesterday, we launched a reimagined and redesigned webpage for the Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office that reflects many of the same user experience concepts that we'll be applying more broadly. That page now reduces what was 932 words by 55% down to 420, and more importantly, reducing the reading level from just above the 14th grade reading level down to the 8th grade reading level. That shift in reading level, it's no easy feat, but it takes commitment and quality collaboration internally with our BOE stakeholders. It is essential work that we meet, and we strive to meet the average reading age for adults in the state, while also simplifying the language to ensure that it's accessible for those who might rely on English, even though it may not be the same language that they speak at the kitchen table. We reorganize the information using clearer headings and shorter sections so visitors can quickly scan the page and find the information the first time they visit. We also introduce some more welcoming visual design elements that help create an experience that is more approachable, more compassionate, and easier to navigate. It's a measurable impact of how thoughtful design and plain language can come together to improve the customer experience without impacting the integrity of the information. Beginning in August, we'll be taking the next big step forward, rethinking how the public experiences BOE online. Partnering with the California Department of Technology's User Experience Consulting Team and our IT services partner, we'll be conducting an independent evaluation of the BOE website. Historically, website redesigns have focused a lot on what organizations want to say. User experience begins by understanding what visitors are trying to accomplish. And that's the perspective we'll be bringing into this effort. The goal isn't simply just to redesign the BOE website, it's to better understand how people use them. Together, we'll evaluate how easily visitors find information, whether our navigation reflects how people naturally search for property tax topics, whether our content is organized in ways that make sense to users, and where unnecessary complexity may be creating barriers. This assessment is gonna provide us an objective roadmap for future improvements by identifying those opportunities where we can strengthen navigation, improve consistency, simplify the user experience, and better align the website with modern usability standards. Rather than making changes based on assumptions, we'll be guided by recognized user experience principles and independent expertise. Ultimately, modernization isn't just about technology, it's about removing barriers between our users and the information they're looking for. That's an important step forward, not just for the communications department, but certainly for the agency as a whole. Looking forward, you'll continue to hear me talk about consistency. Consistency matters because the public doesn't experience the BOE one division at a time. They really experience us as an entire agency. Every interaction someone has with the BOE, whether it's online, in print, in person, contributes to their understanding of who we are as an organization. My goal is that over time, every public-facing communication, whether it's a web page, a publication, a social media post, or a board presentation, reflects the same standards for clarity, consistency, accessibility, and professionalism. Those principles will continue to guide our work as we modernize across the agency. Because ultimately, And communications isn't simply about informing the public, it's about helping people successfully interact with their government. Success for us isn't measured by how much content we produce. It's measured by whether people can find what they need, understand it the first time they read it, and successfully interact with the BOE. When we do that well, we strengthen public understanding, we build trust, and we support the board's mission. Chair Lieber and honorable members, I do want to thank the close work and the many contributors at the BOE who make our public communications successful. It's their professionalism, creativity, and commitment to public service that truly does make a difference for us. Their work this quarter has positioned us really well for several important initiatives in the months ahead, and I'm excited about the direction that we're heading. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Vice Chair.
Well, just comments, I think, primarily here, but I really appreciate what you're doing, that taking a whole new look in terms of how we're communicating, and I think that's really important. I like the idea that we're using even fewer words and more simple language to make it easier for the user. And I like this perspective of what does the user want to accomplish when they interact with our website and the BOE. So thank you for that, and keep up the great work. It's good.
Thank you. Mr. Schaefer.
Yes, Mr. Taylor, I noticed on page 3 you have a photo information in your preferred language, and you refer to Tagalog and Tagalog, the same word, yet over on page 5 you refer to it as Filipino, which it is, and Tagalog is, should not on page 3 you be referring to Tagalog as Filipino? I think a lot of people don't realize that.
So I appreciate the question. From a language perspective, they're synonymous. From a technical perspective, there can be some differences. We typically refer to our friends in the Filipino community as speaking Tagalog. Technically, within our systems, it's a Filipino language designation, but we most often refer to it as the Tagalog language for our Filipino friends.
Thank you.
Mr. Imran.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Very, very nice and comprehensive report. So it really sticks out to me. You have the 90% desktop to the very low mobility in a world where you have one phone, maybe even 2 or 3 sometimes. What is the mobile accessibility gap for the members of the general public, and how do we kind of close that gap for somebody that is using their phone to be more BOE friendly?
I appreciate the question and keying in on that. So, you know, I'm a little over getting on 6 months in here and learning quite a bit about this agency and the customers that we serve. What that insight tells me is that anecdotally, what I'm hearing is supported by the data, that primarily we're serving a professional community. Our systems and our sites are largely being accessed by staff in the county assessor's offices, by other professionals within the tax industry, other stakeholders in government. That's our largest audience. Anecdotally, I also hear that, you know, the public largely goes to their county assessor's office first for information. So I would expect something like device usage would be flipped if I were looking at the county assessor's websites. It does define an opportunity for us, right? So we know that on the public side, greater than 70% of the public does prefer their mobile phones when they're accessing data. We want to make sure that we're not providing any barriers to access. So we will be ensuring that we examine very carefully the mobile friendliness of our communications, because even though our primary audience may be professionals, the public still can find really vital information here at the BOE that can help them plan for any event that might occur in their families' lives as it relates to their properties. So we want to make sure that we're not doing anything to create barriers in that case.
Understood. And my next and last question would be, in regards to the YouTube, I understand that this meeting is live broadcasted on YouTube. Do you have any analytical trends of, let's just say last month, 300 people watched it are there certain times of the meeting where people are maybe tuning in more, or is it maybe during work group? Or is that something maybe we haven't dived into fully yet?
I appreciate that. It's probably an analysis that I want to take down for later. Our board proceedings division spends quite a bit of time analyzing and trying to understand the audience trends as it relates to the video. We get a few hundred views or more of that video after the meeting, but it's something we can certainly get back to you on.
And this is not something that's on any type of government channel or meetings?
So our meetings are streamed live from our BOE website, so they don't have to go out to YouTube. It's on our BOE meetings page. There's an embedded player there. We're not hosting it on another government website. So we'll store all of our archives on YouTube, which I think makes it the most accessible for the broadest group in the public.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions? Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Taylor, for your presentation. And you mentioned that you're obviously going through some modernization issues as well as, I guess, revamping the website to try to improve it. Since you've been on board now, what are some of the things you see that maybe they were deficient or need to be upgraded, especially on the website, I'm thinking? For more accessibility, I guess.
Sure, and I appreciate that, Mr. Vasquez. So strictly speaking, in terms of accessibility, we hit all the numbers there. The BOE is not different than other California agencies in that it certifies each year that it complies with Section 508 and is wholly accessible in terms of all of its digital content. So from that standpoint, I feel very comfortable with it. Because we have catered largely to a professional community for so long, the reading level for a lot of our content has elevated. It stayed in that, early post-high school graduate level. And that's probably served well, and it's interesting, but as California has continued to diversify, that same group of professionals doesn't always speak English at the kitchen table at night. So everyone benefits from simplified English. We do know that the average reading age for California adults is 8th grade. So we'll be striving to meet that plain language equity standard, which is the same for other departments and agencies around state government.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Seeing none, thank you so much, Mr. Taylor. We appreciate the report. And I especially appreciated seeing all the statistics in it about the use. It is getting out to folks and helpful for them. Members, we're at 12:18 right now, and we are due to take our lunch hour. And we thought we would be at 12:30, but we're a little bit ahead of time. So
we could get one report in. We could try to get one in. We have the Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office report. Maybe we could get that one in.
Sure, we
That's
could
due
do
up
that.
Next, yes. Her report is generally not very, well, her report is concise.
So we'll go to item 15, and presented by Ms. Hendrickson. Please.
Okay. Good afternoon, Chair Lieber and honorable board members. For the record, I am Amy Hendrickson, Acting Chief of the Taxpayers' Rights Advocate Office. Today, I will provide a brief update on the activities of the Taxpayers' Rights Advocate Office. Our office completed 29 cases for the month of June. 7 were in District 1, Vice Chair Gaines District. Of the 7 cases, 2 concerned Prop 19 exclusions. 11 were in District 2, Chair Lieber's district. Of the 11 cases, 4 concerned Prop 19 exclusions. 6 were in District 3, Board Member Vasquez district. Of the 6 cases, 1 concerned Prop 19 exclusions. 5 were in District 4, Board Member Schaefer's district. Of the 5 cases, none concerned Prop 19 exclusions. Of the 29 cases, 10 were in the administrative category and 19 were in the valuation category. This month, there were 8 exclusion cases. 5 pertain to the parent-child exclusion, 1 pertained to the base year value transfers 55 and older, one pertained to the base year value transfer after disaster, and one pertained to the co-tenancy exclusion. I would also like to inform the board that our office has completed several items since the last board meeting toward the promoting of the upcoming 2026 Taxpayers Bill of Rights hearing that will be held on August 26th at our board meeting. As already mentioned by Mr. Taylor and by Ms. Stowers, this may be a little repetitive, but I will try to be as quick as possible. The Taxpayers' Rights Advocate Office worked in collaboration with the agency's communications officer, Mr. Taylor, and Executive Director, Ms. Stowers, to make a public service announcement inviting taxpayers and stakeholders to participate in the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights hearing and an opportunity to have their voices heard. We also added the electronic public comment form to the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights hearing webpage at the end of June. Each board member's office received an email from Mr. Taylor with a toolkit that can be used to assist us with the promotion of the hearing. The toolkit has also been sent to all legislative offices, Senate and Assembly, and various statewide taxpayer and stakeholder organizations to notify them of the hearing and ask for their assistance in publicizing the hearing. Additionally, we have invited the Executive Director's Advisory Council members and requested their assistance in publicizing this important event. Further outreach efforts will be made in advance of the hearing. The communications officer, Mr. Taylor, will be sending e-blasts to alcoholic beverage taxpayers and subscribers of the TRA Bill of Rights hearing, as well as doing various social media posts. I appreciate the board's leadership and support on outreach efforts and to let your constituents know about the hearing and participate in this year's Taxpayers' Bill of Rights hearing for their voices to be heard. And finally, I am pleased to share with you that the TRA office has updated our webpage with a refreshed look and a goal of ease for taxpayers to navigate. This concludes my update. I am available for any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Hendrickson? I think all sounds good. And thank you very much. We're looking forward to the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights hearing.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Great. Well, we've now got 7 minutes. So I think what we're going to do is let ourselves have an additional 7 minutes for lunch and to reconnoiter things. And so we are due back for a time-certain hearing at 1:30, but I'd really like to encourage members to try to come in at 1:25 or so informally, so we can get information in an impressive way before our hearing begins. And so it is 12:24 now, and we'll take our lunch break at this time. And we will come back formally at 1:30, but encouraged to come back at 1:25. Thank you, members.